Welcome to the Nikon ZR in-depth video. So I only really got to test it for a short amount of time in London the other day. And in this video, we're going to be trying out a whole heap more. So make sure you stay tuned and listen up. In this video, we are going to be putting it through its paces. Not only are we going to be doing a comparison with a Komodo, but we're also going to be taking it out at the Zoom Festival to see how agile, adept and powerful the camera is without any added extras. No built-up camera rig, nothing. We're going to be testing this for photo and video, and some of this is actually going to surprise you. First things I did was test out on a couple of non-native lenses because I wanted to see if it could perform really well with some full-frame lenses from other brands that are also autofocus. Now, some of the brands have actually started doing these. This has been one of the main reasons why I haven't switched before, because having the ability to access other lenses that are a little bit more cost effective is actually a massive benefit, and Nikon are a little bit more compatible still than the Canon counterpart, as manufacturers such as Tamron have actually released the 70 to 180mm, making it quite accessible. They basically have a holy trinity, which would end up saving you a lot of money if you decide to go for this as a sort of like beginner cinema camera for yourself. You want to have a look at the other things that might be within the ballpark, and these Tamron lenses are really great options, especially if you're looking to vlog and do day-to-day shooting. Overall, the experience I had with this camera will be answered, as will my recommendation if you're looking for a beginner cinema camera. Is this really the best option? And that's what you're here for at the end of the day. I do believe the Nikon ZR is perhaps one of the most interesting cameras on the market. So make sure you keep watching, and we're going to be going over everything as we go along. And I was surprised at some things, disappointed in others. Overall, this camera is something that is ultimately special. Is it the camera that you should get? Hopefully, I'll answer that here. Anyway, there will be chapters throughout the video because this is a little bit of a longer form video where you can skip in between the segments as to what you're most interested in. This is for the vlog for the new 100mm macro, and I'm just grabbing some beginning content with the 16 to 30. Majority of the footage from that review shall be from here, apart from the stuff that I take with the lens. However, something to note is you can actually get an E-mount to Z-mount adapter, and it just allows you to use the Sony with all functionality. Now we've got this one in used at the moment. If you're interested in it, go online. And it just allows you to use the power zoom functions in the camera. So it's just something else I wanted to test to see what it's like, which will come up now with some lovely sarcastic VO from Stuart. This being one of the most powerful lenses you can get for just general videography. It's more of a documentary lens, but being f4 does mean it's not necessarily great in super low light conditions. But the other side of it is because it's a power zoomed lens, you can use a zoom rocker on top of the camera to be able to zoom in and out, like this, which gives you the ability to do crash zooms. The other side of it is that you do actually have the chance to change how fast it goes inside of the camera, and the whole menu system and the structure of it is quite easy to understand. But yes, the other side of it is this audio is the 32-bit internal using the directionality of the mic. The audio coming off the top of the camera is generally pretty good, however it would benefit from actually having a shotgun microphone or a lav mic, but overall reasonably happy with it. In a second. But what do you guys think? What do you think of the Tamron lens being used as a vlog lens? It's nice and small, kind of agile. We've got 16mm focal length there, and the lines seem to be relatively straight. Anyway. Now I want you to understand that Nikon glass is truly great, but with this lens costing you $849, whilst the other options being over £1,000, this offers you a real good kind of like entry into this system, and then perhaps get the Nikon version later on. After doing this, I met up with Tom Wilkins, where we did a little model shoot / testing out the two 2470 and the 2875. But what I wanted to do here with him mainly is actually film our podcast in the streets in Cardiff to check out that 32-bit float with the DJI Mic 2 system. This is what I got. You look absolutely tiny compared to me, don't you?
Kind of choked me up a little bit, you know, that it can have that much of an impact on someone.
Exactly. I think, especially in this day and age with social media, and if you go in it with true intention, I think the amount of lives you can actually impact with what you do is very special. When it comes to it, it worked out pretty well, and the audio was fantastic coming out of those DJI Mic 2s with that 32-bit float internal. I can't help but feel that the C50 though does win out in this particular situation just because you've got that XLR top handle, and I do prefer the top handle than the Tascam option currently with Nikon. Now this isn't to say that something for a top handle XLR grip isn't going to come out for the ZR in the future, but right now I do prefer the option when it comes to the C50 just because of that top handle. I know it doesn't have 32-bit float, but that's just a added extra to this camera, which is a really powerful tool in and of itself. So I'm going to switch out now over to the 24-70 and then try out the 28-75. GE2 for Nikon Z mount. So, your Mad Hatter, and then walk up to the camera. Amazing, go back again. And now you've got to imagine you are getting attacked by a bear and you need to run away. Go. There's another video which will come soon where I'm going to be putting the 2875 against the 2470 f2.8. So make sure you subscribe down below. Now, not only that, now this isn't the end of the testing. I ended up taking it out with Natalie Clements, who is a wildlife documentarian, and we put this up against a RED Komodo. So Natalie, what are we doing?
So we are out today filming some nature. We're having a go with some birds to begin with, nice and easy. There's a little one there. We've put some feed out and just kind of scanning to see, one, they're landing on the food, but also where they're settling in the trees so that we can then start to figure out where they're going to land and how to get the best shots that aren't necessarily on the feeder. So yeah, I'm keeping half an eye on the feeding area, half an eye on the trees. I'm using my RED Komodo OG, nice little cinema camera, and yeah, putting it up against the ZR today. Yeah.
Why are you interested in ZR?
So the ZR for me is a potential for maybe a B cam or something that could maybe match up with this. It could also be something that I can take out that's a lot smaller. Having the weight of this camera is really helpful, but there are times when I need to go a lot smaller and still have the same amount of capability that something like this would have, but in a smaller package. So the ZR is quite interesting in that the Red RAW could maybe deliver that for me. So I'm interested today to see what we can get. What's really neat, if I've got a subject that's staying still enough and I really feel like I want to do a bit of manual focus, is the little box that's picking them up will go green when I'm in focus and red when I'm out of focus. It's just like a nice little add-on.
I'm not going to lie, it gives me the excuse to have a play with a RED, which I'm all about. A nice little system here. Got a Vinton tripod. I'm currently using the Bucky from Three-Legged Thing on mine, but it's so much fun to use, and it's what I quite like about using the Nikon ZR at the moment, is kind of just delving into this side of cinematography that I haven't before, outside of, you know, Sony's.
Yeah, so this is a little bit lighter than I would usually use, so that button press can sometimes move the lens a little bit, so I'd be really interested to try the hand grip. I've been talking to the team about the extra grip that you can buy. But as a little camera, it's pretty neat. I'm trying out the autofocus because I don't really play with it too much, and it's sticking to them. Quite impressed, quite happy with that. Yeah, hopefully we've got some nice little shots.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And that's actually more impressive when you actually think about what we're using here. We're using a non-native lens, so that is the 150 to 500mm from Tamron, and it is still easily grabbing and staying on the subject. And that's quite impressive in and of itself. I'm interested to see more third-party lenses come out for the Nikon ZR. But as it stands, the stuff coming from Tamron is pretty good. I've been using it pretty much since they sent it to me, the Nikon ZR, because I try to push to actually try out some other lenses that aren't necessarily native. But it's pretty impressive overall. With Sigma lenses, it's always weird doing the back because the focus I'm usually used to being here. And to be fair, it's the same with the Tamron. Of course, this lens, it's the 60 to 600. I've reviewed it before and I absolutely love it just in general because it's you can kind of zoom all the way out, zoom in really quite tactively and get the shots you really need to. Yeah, I'm just getting I think it's a blue tip. So if you were to get a Nikon ZR,
yeah,
would you end up rigging it up? Do you think that's going to be the #1 benefit of it?
Yeah, I think for me, the benefits of rigging means that I can put a monitor and go low down, although that does have a really good screen. Sometimes I'm bashing around a little bit, so a monitor's just a little bit less breakable than an LCD screen. But again, that's got a really good big picture, so not too bad. But also that extra, be able to stop-start off the camera body would be really helpful. Combined with a bit of autofocus would help for doing kind of more remote shots, where I'm less hands on the camera.
Well, what I'm noticing is I've just been having this on record, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm noticing is if I actually just set it to bird autofocus, there is room to just leave it in a place and it will automatically find it, which is what I'm doing now because I'm not paying much attention to it. It's just got a robin just on the corner of the image and it's grabbing it and tracking the robin pretty damn well. So look right there, it's pretty much spot on, not leaving the bird at all. And again, this is a third-party lens also. So it's really interesting to see Natalie's opinions when it comes to this camera, because of course this isn't necessarily something that I do personally. It's nice to see the points that she's bringing up, and I think it's actually a really good viewpoint as to different ways this camera will be used. Of course, we've got Soon Festival later tonight, which I'll be using this in live gig situations. Going to be switching back down to 4K rather than the Red RAW that I'm using right now. Now let's compare the two cameras together. So this is of course the RED Komodo footage, and as you can see it's really sharp and the colours are pretty fantastic across the board. And Natalie was actually shooting on a 60 to 600mm. I was shooting on a 150 to 500mm Tamron on the Nikon ZR. Moving over to the ZR footage, again, really damn sharp. And because it's 6K, I've actually zoomed in and enhanced here and there to try and match the sort of like size and quality of the shots coming from Natalie's camera. This is of course the Nikon ZR, and then this is the Komodo, and I'm going to compare it to a shot of a robin again with the Nikon ZR, and then we're going to place them next to each other to see kind of like how they actually look once graded, comparing them to each other. I would say the Nikon ZR has just a slight little bit more contrast, but overall both of the shots would easily be able to be put next to each other and you wouldn't necessarily really be able to tell the difference, at least on the base level. Now, after I shot with Natalie Clements, I decided to move straight on into the Soon Festival, which was a 2-day event. Took photos of about 10 different bands over the weekend. I was actually very ill at this point as well, so it was a little bit of a hard process. But overall, allowed me to put it through both low light testing, but also checking out some more manual orientated lenses to see how well that works in a less perfect situation. Come off of the nature kind of walk I did with Natalie, and now we're at Soon Festival. I've just shot the first artist, Fantastic. Moving on to the next one. Nikon ZR still on its first original battery that I started this morning. So the battery life is good. It's good to know. The FX3 killer, and that's what you hear about this camera all the time. And is it the FX3 killer? And there are some things which yes, and some things which no. The low light performance on the FX3 and the just cinema lineup from Sony is still just a little bit better. But what you get from having those things being just a little bit better, you actually gain a lot more with the Nikon ZR, with 32-bit float audio, with the ability to take photos. And this is one thing which I feel people haven't actually talked that much on, is how great the photos come from this. So that's the second van down now. What's that? The third van down now. Swing Festivals is a really awesome festival in Cardiff, where all of the music venues kind of come together and give a really good show of things, to be honest with you. We've got another one in Welsh Club, aka Club iPhone back, and then back to it. So far this camera has been performing excellently, and I've been shooting with it the majority of the day, including shooting RED footage when I was out with Natalie, because we were compared to the Komodo. And this is low light autofocus, so it seems to be hitting, seems to not be hitting. I think it's because I'm knocking the focus ring on the front of the lens, but it's been a lot of fun essentially. Cardiff is a really good scene when it comes to just the music and everything, and it's nice to see the bands. I can't wait to see what else I get on top of this. This video is very much, let's put the Nikon ZR through as many different situations as possible, and this is of course low light. Well, at this point I've really lost count, but the Nikon ZR is still going. Has the last little bit of battery at the moment. I have got extra batteries, but they were just taking out some of the used cameras in the shop just to try and tie me over. At the moment I really enjoy it. I really wish, and I think if I do get one, I would actually get a grip, because that grip isn't quite comfortable for shooting just completely bare like what I'm doing right now. Cardiff is quite live today. You've got the Comic-Con, and this is of course day 2 of the Swing Festival. One of the things that's been interesting me about this video is, for the most part, I've actually been shooting without an external microphone on the top, apart from with the podcast. Now, real test here is going to be, can you actually run this camera without that for vlogging? Is the audio quality good enough inside of the camera? Well, we'll find out. So that was the first gig at Porter's. It was kind of like a secret kind of gig, which is quite cool. Got to test out the 35 095 Flower Angus, because that's something I've got used. What I wanted to do is test out the manual focus on here, and mainly the peaking, because you've got this lovely, like, super bright display. Can I see the peaking correctly, even with a lens that has such a low aperture? It's going to be another little awesome little test. I've been running the digital stabilization whilst doing all of this, just to give me that little bit of extra stabilization in the lens, so may not be as wide as what you're expecting. So what's great about this compared to the 28 to 24mm is the fact it goes just that little bit wider, and for vlogging in particular, you do kind of notice it. Now the camera's really nice and lightweight, and with this it's really efficient at grabbing the bits and pieces that I'm actually looking to get here. Now something interesting I did notice here at the festival, and this is coming back to the camera now, is the fact that the shooter for the festival who's doing the afternoon is actually using an FX6 with a 28 to 135mm f4. Now, with the lighting situation that they have in there currently, I don't necessarily think this would be perfect for that because you don't have that extra 12,800. However, if you are using low aperture lenses like me, then you can use it. It's only if you go around back to the f1, might be getting just a little bit too far. Now, you could push it, and that's really not going to be a massive problem. I am vlogging a camera YouTube channel.
What is it?
I review camera gear.
Camera gear?
Yeah. So that's what I do. You say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. There you go. You're going to make the vlog.
Nice.
Yeah, sick. Love my job. So where was I? Yeah, so the FX6 does have a slightly higher ISO range. This doesn't necessarily have it. If you're using lower aperture lenses, it doesn't necessarily need to worry about it too much. The lens that I am actually shooting with today is an f/0.95, and I have ample room to even jump down to the lower ISO range and actually be quite happy with it. If I was shooting a festival like this, I do tend to use primes as I do prefer them, just because you get a nice depth of field and they're just a little bit more cinematic looking. However, I do think the f/2.8 works perfectly well with this for these lower light situations, and it's nice to be able to play with everything. This is what we're getting here, is if this can take on everything in terms of content creation, and at the moment it's doing a pretty damn good job. Okay, so we're about to run out of battery for today on the first pack. We've got another pack, which is lucky. What I want to talk about here is actually the aspects of it. So of course, we've got the same sensor, XZ6 Mark III, and I have actually been using it. Now what I've got to say, for hybrid shooting, I think I really like the experience on this. Because when you're doing events, you're trying to get all these mad angles, you can't necessarily always look down an EVF, you know, in which everything works perfect. You've got a nice big screen, ability to stick photos, and that was stuff. Definitely comes out of the X3. Something to bear in mind. With all the new releases, we're planning to release a video for each and every one of them, as well as some more conceptual stuff. So please like, follow, subscribe if you want to see more. For everything photography and video, make sure you check out Camera Centre UK. And well, I'll hope to see you next time.